And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever it happens to be where you are. Alan Reddick with you, and welcome to our 5th virtual Red Circle meeting. Can you imagine? We've had 5 of them already. And we have a big crowd today. Sherlockians and Holmesians are with us from the UK, France, Canada, the Czech Republic, Argentina, Germany, Switzerland, and right here in the US. And just about half of you are from outside the Red Circle's normal stomping grounds in the Washington-Baltimore corridor. So we're very, very happy to have each and every one of you with us today. It's time to turn things over to the man of the hour always at the Red Circle. He's been at every meeting, and there's good reason for that. He is Mr. Peter Blau. So Peter, why don't you turn on your microphone and take it away?
Thank you, Alan. For the benefit of those who don't know him, our master webmaster, who is responsible for making us look so good, is Alan Reddick. And he deserves a vote of thanks from everybody. It's thanks to Alan we have such good meetings and such large audiences. Normally, the first order of business is to welcome everybody to the Red Circle. This time, I'm going to change things slightly and say how nice it is that the federal government has made the date of this meeting a national holiday. So happy June 19th, Juneteenth to everybody. I'm not sure that we'll have our June meeting on Juneteenth every year, but we sure are this year. Second order of business is to ask everybody to sit down so we make sure we have enough seats at the table. We don't have to do that. And the third order of business is our general announcements. And the first announcement is going to be about Denny Dobry's open house.
Okay, thank you, Peter and Alan. On August 21st, I'm going to host an open house at my 221B recreation in Reading, Pennsylvania. I know some of you have already been there before, and I think it's been touted as one of the best recreations anywhere. If you come, you get to see Colonel Moran's actual air rifle. You get to see the cataract knife that John Straker tried to use against Silver Blaze. And you'll see Baron Gruner's Lust Diary, which is very adult-oriented, shall I say. Anyway, the sitting room has at least one artifact from every story. And one of the things that I do when I get visitors, especially some of the younger Sherlockians, I'll put a quiz together to try to identify some of the items that are in the room. In addition to the tour of the room, which in itself would be worth the trip, I also volunteer to accept donations to the Baker Street Irregulars Trust. Donations come to me from all around. I get many books and many three-dimensional items, as you can see on the screen here. And so in addition to the tour, you'll be able to select some things from the inventory that I have. As you can see, this is just a small sample of what's available. Some of the details in the meeting, we're going to start on August 21st at 10 a.m. and we will go until everybody goes home. There is no fee. Lunch will be provided. I will ask for donations to cover the cost of the lunch. There will be door prizes, and Bob Katz will also be on hand to sell some books from the BSI Press. I suspect he'll be offering those at a discount. I'm going to formally start registration on August 1st. You can contact me at the email address shown on the screen, dendobry@ptt.net. Also, there will be announcements and updates on the Red Circle website and the BSI Trust website. So if you have any questions, please email me. And if you are planning the trip to the East Coast anyway, try to make it around August 21st. Hope to see a lot of you then. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Thank you, Denny. I should note that Denny's recreation of the sitting room is neither the first nor the only such recreation, but it is unique because you actually get to go inside and play with the things he has on display rather than stand outside looking in through a plate glass window, wishing you could. It's a wonderful playground. All right, the next person on my agenda is Carla Koop, who's going to tell us about the Beacon Society and Saturday with Sherlock Holmes in Baltimore. Carla?
Thank you, Peter. The Beacon Society is busy these days. We have just announced the winners, the 7 winners of the Joel Center Senior Memorial Essay Contest. They are all up at the Beacon Society website, and Steve Mason made a lovely booklet of all of their essays. So if you would like to read them, they are downloadable in a beautiful PDF, and you can enjoy them. We also have a new feature done in conjunction with Peter and Steve and Mike McSwiggan and a bunch of other people who I know I'm forgetting at the moment. It's an interactive map worldwide of Sherlockian societies. So you can go to any place on the map, look and see if there's a society nearby. If you know of one that is not listed, you can email. The email address is on at that same page, and we will update that, take care of it. Also, we have for the young people, Sherlock's Spotlight, which is a downloadable PDF that has games and story synopses, essays about things that kids might enjoy. It's free. Come again to the website, it's right there, and you can also get back issues. A lot of people have seemed to enjoy it, so that is something that you might want to give to your kids this summer if they're getting a little bored, something to keep them busy. This year, we are hoping to be able to have a Saturday with Sherlock Holmes at the Pratt Library in person, Saturday, November 6th from 11 a.m. to about 1 p.m. It will be at the main library in the big auditorium, so it should be very comfortable. The topic and speakers are still being decided, so that will be announced as soon as I have that pinned down. But I hope to see you then, and if, God forbid, there's any problem, it will be hosted on Zoom. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Carla. There are a few other events upcoming. July 14th through the 17th, Malice Domestic is holding something they're calling More Than Malice. It's virtual. There's a way to register for it at our website. On August 6th and 7th, there's a scintillation of signs. This is a great gathering supposed to be for Sherlockian societies on the East Coast, but people come from just about everywhere. On October 2nd, the Baker Street Irregulars Trust is going to have their first annual lecture with Roberta Pearson, who's professor of film and television studies and at the University of Nottingham as a guest speaker. And then on, we hope, January 11th to the 16th, there are plans afoot for a real in-person celebration of Sherlock Holmes's birthday in New York. And we can't say that everything will be just as it was in the past, but we sure hope so. After that, as always, the 2020 Baker Street Irregulars Conference on Sherlock Holmes and the British Empire will be held in 2022. It's going to be fun in Bear Mountain, New York. That's all I can think of at the moment, except that Alan is going to tell us about one of our occasional special Red Circle meetings coming up soon.
It is coming up soon. It's coming up exactly 3 weeks from today on the 10th of July. Same time, same station as today's meeting, 1 o'clock Eastern time in the United States, but we're going to have a very, very, very international audience for this one because it's a joint meeting with our friends at the Reichenbach Irregulars of Switzerland, who have a very brand new book out about their organization, but more specifically, they talk about the roots from the Reichenbach, which I think is a fascinating subject, and it's going to be the subject of the meeting that we have on July 10th. We're going to have 3 different presenters, each presenting a different route that Sherlock Holmes may have taken from the Reichenbach to Florence on that fateful day. And there'll be a discussion about that and all sorts of other things. And in order to tell you more about it, we have Marcus Geiser. Marcus, are you there?
Yes, indeed, I'm here. Thanks again, Ellen and Peter, and hello to everyone. Yes, my name is Marcus Geiser, for those who don't know me. Yes, I live in London, yes, and I have been involved in editing the very first book that the Reichenbach Irregulars of Switzerland, the first of 2 Sherlock Holmes Societies of Switzerland, published several weeks ago, actually, together with my co-editors Michael Meir and Guy Marriott, and I'm sure some of you know them as well, yes. And it is basically a compilation of papers delivered at a number of conferences that our society organized, yes. And I am very pleased that I see some of our speakers and participants here in the audience. I count Marina, Sonia, Peggy, Beth, Christoph, Peter, Helen, my wife, of course, yes. And I may have forgotten a few of those, yes. And the book is very much a compilation of Sherlockian and Doylean studies into everything related to Switzerland, yes. So of course, Arthur Conan Doyle's visit to Davos, but also the roots from Reichenbach, as explained by Ellen already, yes. I will put in the chat the link that will allow you to find out more about the book, yes, if you're interested in that. Oh, thank you very much, yes. Oh, well, there we go, yes. And I think registration for this particular event is a joint event, the Reichenbach Irregulars together with the Red Circle. I think the registration starts as of tomorrow. Ellen will know more, of course, yes. And I hope you can join us, yes. 3 of our authors are going to have this panel conversation about the roots from Reichenbach, and of course they all selected a different paths, yes, so you have a little bit of a dispute, yes. We always think that's the only one, you know, it's a bit like the dispute between Cambridge and Oxford, yes, where for us Swiss Sherlockians is to dispute which path he might have taken, yes. And I hope you can join us, yes, and thanks again to Ellen and Peter and everyone from the Red Circle who have actually allowed us to do that together on the 10th of July. Thank you.
Absolutely, Marcus. Thank you. And actually, I'm going to have the registration button. You're all familiar with our click to register button on the Red Circle website. I didn't put it up before now because I didn't want to have 2 buttons up there at the same time. But within an hour or so after we go off the air today, at the Red Circle website, there will be the famous click to register red button for which you can register for July 10th. And I hope very much that you all will, because it's going to be a lot of fun. And Peter, it's back to you.
Thank you, Alan. We have one more event coming up. I can't tell you the date or the place or the agenda, but I'm happy to report that we are considering having the next meeting of the Red Circle in person, just to get our feet wet, a picnic outside, perhaps at Glen Echo Park. Bring your own whatever. Glen Echo Park is open. We may have a chance to ride their wonderful carousel, and there will be more about this anon. We hope that the pandemic will have subsided to the point where everybody is comfortable coming to an outdoor picnic. Okay, our next event is a prequel, which Bev Wolov is going to deliver. She's going to take questions in the chat, but we're going to delay the question period until after both Bev and Peggy have done their lectures. Just type Q in chat if you want to be recognized, and if Alan will call on you after Peggy's talk. Now, if you're anybody except Bev, and if you've turned on your microphone for any reason, please turn it off now, because our first speaker this afternoon is Beverly Wallace, who's zooming in from Bethesda, not far from where I'm zooming in from Bethesda, upstairs, as a matter of fact. She joined the master's class of Philadelphia in 1976. She's a member of the Red Circle and the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and in 1997 was honored as the woman by the Baker Street Irregulars. Her second master's degree is in the history of decorative arts, and she's a volunteer photographer at the Smithsonian Institution and Mount Vernon. She specializes in textiles and lace and keeping an eye on me. Today, she'll tell us about the platform, Milestones in Advertising. And here's Bev.
I guess the first thing you do is unmute. Okay, bear with me. Hi, everyone. Before we hear Peggy's talk on Sherlock Holmes and advertising, we thought it'd be fun to take a quick look at some advertising milestones. There was a time, of course, when advertisements as we know them today didn't exist. If you needed something, you made it or grew it yourself, or you used what you had for trade. You might go to a market, or the market might come to you via a peddler. The wealthy had specialists on staff, such as blacksmiths, cooks, dress and suit makers. You didn't think I was going to leave out any reference to costume, did you? But at a time when few had reading skills, word of mouth and an occasional pictograph, like a pub sign, was the only advertising needed or even useful in villages and small towns. The word advertisement, or advertisement, as some say, first appears in late Middle English. Its roots are in Latin, but Old French converted to the verb advertir, which translates as turn towards or to call attention. It was a short hop for a statement calling attention to something to be called an advertisement. An advertisement, then, is a very specific type of communication. By its nature, it is a broad gesture seeking response from an unknown audience. It might be used to encourage purchase of a product, provide a service, give notice of an upcoming event, or even ask for help. William Caxton is remembered as the person who brought the printing press to England in 1476. With the intent to sell a book a year later, he published the first print ad in English. And I'm sure you can all read this. Caxton is selling his edition of the Psalm Ordinal, or Pie. It's a list of rules for the clergy of Salisbury on how to deal with celebration date variations such as Easter. Caxton tacked paper and ink notices on church doors. By doing so, he established two fundamental rules of advertising. Identify your target audience, and then figure out how to best reach them. Caxton had to have reasoned that anyone who could read the notice could read and might be interested in owning a book. Who could read? Both clergy, man spiritual, and the wealthy, man temporal. Either might have the education. And where might the clergy and wealthy see a notice? At least once a week, they congregated at church. Print advertising did not suddenly become a thing. Its existence, growth, and development required enough readers to make it worth the effort. Even more important, it needed a reason to be. Print advertising became an evolving process as theatrical posters, news sheets, and periodicals began to appear with increasing regularity. What substantially energized print advertising was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in the 1830s. Mass production meant you wanted and needed more consumers. Suddenly, advertising as an industry took off. Some ads were simple text descriptions of a product or service. Others included images to catch your eye. Black ink illustrations range from simple line drawings to sophisticated woodcuts. As printing technology evolved, the images on posters and in periodicals began to tell their story in delicious, captivating, seductive color. City dwellers had easy access to newspaper and the willingness to invest money in slick magazines. Awareness of the latest fashions, hottest products, and newest trends attracted wealthy and rising middle class alike. Rural communities were a separate audience. Potential consumers, yes, but how to reach them? In 1872, 400 years after William Caxton posted his printed notice offering a book for sale, a catalog, and I use the term loosely because it was only a single sheet of paper, was sent out by Aaron Montgomery Ward. It showed merchandise for sale with ordering instructions. In time, a true catalog developed, heavily illustrated, dubbed Dream or sometimes Wish Book by rural families. Ward had been a traveling salesman from Marshall Field of Chicago when he conceived the idea of mail order. The Montgomery Ward mail order catalog is such an icon of turn of the last century Midwest that is immortalized in the Music Man song, The Wells Fargo Wagon. The townspeople of Gary, Indiana are imagining where packages might be coming from, including Montgomery Ward. Perhaps the print platform reached its zenith with the 1835 introduction of billboards in the United States. More than 50 feet square, the billboard promoted the Barnum and Bailey Circus. The leap to electronic advertising came in 1922 with the first radio ad. WEAF in New York broadcast a sales pitch promoting the Hawthorne Court Apartments in Jackson Heights, New York. The company bought 10 minutes for $50. WEAF would go on to form the National Broadcasting Company. But at the time of this first ad, they were owned by AT&T. AT&T wanted to make money from the radio broadcasts. In a flash of brilliance, they decided to simply follow the business pattern already set by phone calls. Consumers had communication needs. AT&T had airwave technology. And so began the practice of selling time. Pay your phone bill, buy a slot for an ad, same thing. There is no copy of the original advertisement broadcast, but on the 30-year anniversary, NBC created the moment.
Your family to leave the congested city and enjoy what nature intended you to enjoy. Visit our new apartment homes in Hawthorne Court, Jackson Heights, where you may enjoy community life in a friendly environment.
In 1941, the first American TV ad featured the bull of a watch. The brand paid $9 for a 20-second spot. It was this image and an announcer saying, "America runs on bull of a time." It only actually ran for 9 seconds. It was Facebook that brought ads to social media. It began in 2004 with flyers. Local businesses could place ads on Facebook's homepage, targeting whatever college campus was nearby. Keep in mind, Facebook launched when Mark Zuckerberg was still a student at Harvard. This would evolve in the Facebook ads platform. As of April 2016, Facebook's advertising revenues on the platform reached $5.2 billion. That flyer, by the way, is now the right sidebar on almost any content you open on the internet. There are other advertising platforms, a plane flying overhead trailing a sign, skywriting, signs painted on the sides of barns, excuse me, sandwich boards, the costumed person standing on a street corner twirling a sign, even circus elephants walking through the town. The list goes on and on. But perhaps the most jaw-dropping advertising platform was the use of the 1984 Super Bowl for a 1-minute commercial. It was a new marker in the history of advertising, never mind the football game. Talk the next day was about the ad.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the information purification methods. Tiny old history of a garden of pure ideology, where each one might bloom, secure from the pests of a contradictory. Of course, is more powerful a weapon than any fleet or army on earth. We are one people, one will, one resolve, one cause. Our shall talk themselves to death, but we will bring it up with their own confusion. We shall fail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh, and you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
The tagline on the ad, by the way, was "Think Different." Apple certainly did. From that moment, the competition to have the ad at the Super Bowl was on. Print, radio, TV, internet. I wonder what's next. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Bev.
You're welcome.
Our guest speaker this afternoon is Peggy Perdue, who is zooming in from Canada, where she's well known to Sherlockians. Peggy was curator of the Arthur Conan Doyle collection at the Toronto Public Library until she was promoted to senior services specialist in charge of the collection and much more. Now, she's a longtime member of the Bootmakers of Toronto, of course, and since 2011, a member of the Baker Street Irregulars with the investiture of Violet Westbury. Peggy has described her lifetime goal as becoming a hyper-polyglot. And if you don't know what that is and don't have a dictionary handy, Peggy will be happy to answer questions after she tells us about Sherlock Holmes and advertising. Over to you, Peggy.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you to the Red Circle for inviting me. Thanks for everybody for coming to listen. And thank you, Bev, for really a great warm-up. Such beautiful images in that, and really good sets the stage. And now we can turn towards and call attention to Sherlock Holmes. In 2009, I wrote a Baker Street Journal Christmas annual called "Did You Notice Nothing Curious About That Advertisement?" In it, I looked at over 400 ads featuring or inspired by Sherlock Holmes and tried to see what kinds of patterns emerged. This presentation will be largely based on that publication, but I've made some edits and additions and added some new images. Let's begin at the very beginning. Among the Toronto Public Library's letters from Arthur Conan Doyle to his editor, Herbert Greenhouse Smith, is one where he tells Smith that he's been approached about Holmes being used in an ad in the Black Cat magazine. "My dear Smith," he writes, "I think I could sustain my copyright in the words Sherlock Holmes, and I don't think they've been used in an advertisement up until now. I look on the proposal as a purely business one without any sentiment, and I've asked Watt to chat it over with you. ... The picture would never do. Holmes must preserve his dignity. He looks about 5 feet high, badly dressed, with no brains or character, an actor out of a job." In my Christmas annual, I chose to juxtapose the phrase about Holmes maintaining his dignity against an image of an inch-high Holmes climbing the tip of an enema bottle. And I'm afraid I'm going to do it again. There are other examples almost as bad in the history of Sherlockian advertising. No blame goes to Holmes himself, of course. And in fact, it's not all bad. I don't think even the worst of the ads hurt the great detective's reputation as much as ACD feared. Many of them celebrate Sherlock Holmes' skill and acumen and are in their own way helping to keep the memory of the master green. So let's take a look. The letter, like so many written by Conan Doyle, is undated. And I can really imagine some of you grimacing at this point. I was unable to find any evidence that an ad like the one described ever turned up in a publication called The Black Cat. So it may be that the deal fell through. The earliest mention of a Sherlockian ad I could find was in the Universal Sherlock Holmes, which noted one for Beecham's Pills appearing in Tidbits magazine in 1894. The owner of Tidbits was Strand publisher George Nunes. So it seems like they may have worked out something among themselves rather than let a good thing go to the black cat. A copy for the 1894 ad hasn't surfaced, but here's the text of one from 1895. Watson notes that someone named Mrs. Beauty has really upped her game in how she looks, talks, and manages her house. Holmes's response? He said not a word, but placing his hand in his overcoat pocket, he pulled out number 3 of Woman's Life and handed it to Watson with a significant look as he turned over the pages. Ah, said Watson, now I understand how it was all come about. Tidbits was promoting a sister publication called Woman's Life. This is an extraordinary candidate for one of the first uses of Sherlock Holmes in marketing. What are we to make of the idea of Holmes carrying around a copy of A Woman's Life in his overcoat pocket? It seems odd that a man noted for his disinterest in women would be considered an appropriate spokesperson for a women's magazine. The last slide was just a text because that's what many of the earliest Sherlockian ads were like. On the left, you'll see an example of a Tidbits ad for Beecham's Pills from the same year. Yes, the first ad I was able to find that actually had an image of Holmes appeared in Collier's for January 9, 1904. He's represented in silhouette, an interesting foreshadowing of how famous that silhouette would become. The ad was for Macintosh's toffee, shown in the middle. And here again, we have Holmes selling a product that one would not readily associate with his character. It's hard to imagine our hero sucking on sweets through the night as he works out a 3 toffee problem. That quibble aside, it is in many respects a quintessential Holmes advertisement. The famous magnifying glass is in play as well as the profile. Holmes is represented as someone to be relied upon because he uses careful deduction and is a solver of things difficult. He is also used to emphasize the British origins of the product in the mind of the magazine's American readers. All of these aspects of Holmes's public image would eventually be used again and again in later ads. The image on the right is another one from Collier's in 1904. It's for Wilson's Economy Expense Book. The copy is written as if by Watson and tells the reader how the book will help them to save money and manage household finances. A pattern begins to emerge. Holmes is there to represent reliability and good sense. In these early days, we see Holmes promoting pills, magazines, books, candy, safes, and roofing materials. By the beginning of the 20th century, advertisers had already become aware that the image and reputation of Sherlock Holmes could be used to sell almost anything. Eventually, over the years, if you look at enough examples, it's possible to divide them into thematic groupings. So at this point, I'm going to approach the subject in terms of product type. And we'll start with an obvious one. Of all the things Holmes has been conscripted to sell, tobacco products are surely the most understandable. The connection between Holmes and tobacco is iconic, an important part of the picture of him that lives in the public imagination. It's no surprise that Holmes has appeared in ads for several brands of cigarettes, including these from Chesterfield in the 1950s, Claridge in 1981. And Holmes is also called on to give advice about Ronson fire bronze flints in this comic style ad from 1952. Here we have more ads for Peter Jackson, Sweet Caporal, and a really beautiful illustration for Pippin cigars from 1911. Holmes has also been used to promote pipe tobacco such as Gallagher's Rich Dark Honeydew, Falk's Serene Tobacco, and Grand Cut. Companies that want to make maximum use of Sherlock Holmes's selling power will take the additional step of naming their product after him. There have been both 221B Baker Street and Sherlock Holmes tobacco blends and Sherlock Holmes cigars. Several tobacconists have named their stores after Holmes or featured his image. From tobacco products, let's make a leap to Holmes in health and wellness. In my research, I found 31 ads that showed Holmes representing pharmaceuticals or healthcare services. Holmes appears in several of these ads, Watson appears in several of these ads as well. But Holmes's role as the wise advisor is so entrenched that it is always he, not Dr. Watson, who is represented as the one with all the medical knowledge. Watson makes out particularly badly in this ad on the left for Westcore osmometers, in which kidney disease is making him incontinent. Fortunately, Holmes has the answer. Some ads promoting health products are for free or publicly funded services. On the right, we have an ad for a blood donor clinic featuring a dog as a detective. A widely used ad for the MS Readathon also used a dog in Sherlock Holmes attire. So this would be a good time to make a brief note about dogs. They appear often in Sherlockian advertising. The popularity of the canine detective motif may be due to the significant role dogs play in many of the Holmes stories, but perhaps the world is not yet ready for the tale of how so many of these animals ended up wearing Sherlock's clothing. Sherlock Holmes will be forever associated with hansom cabs and dog carts, but in the advertising world, there's just something about Sherlock Holmes and cars. Here you can see Holmes and Watson discussing the fiendishly seductive Dodge Diplomat in 1977. And on the right is a 2015 Chinese ad for MG from the BC or Benedict Cumberbatch era of Sherlockian advertising. The video version of the ad was an homage to the TV show Sherlock. The print ad is not as obviously Holmesian, but still benefits from Cumberbatch's star power. With the help of Sherlock Holmes, once you've bought your car, you can set it up with Blue Streak heavy-duty ignition in this cute comic ad from 1974, and Bendix brakes. The best place to park it would be Auto Parking Kotwa right in the center of Prague, as seen on the right. That's from 1977, and I did not realize when I did that we were going to have somebody from the Czech Republic here, so I'm glad we represent there. Safety and security is also a concern. On the left here, you can see a PSA promoting safe driving. And the remaining two images are for Sherlock anti-theft marking system and the Sherlock alarm system. Of course, the great detective is not just interested in car safety. One of the earliest Sherlockian ads was in Collier's for sleepless watchman safes. And Sherlock is a useful pun that has been used by locksmiths and home insurers as well. More about Holmes at home presently, but we've all been spending lots of time at home, so how about a quick look at travel first? The first two images you see here are for the British Overseas Airways Company and a luggage shop in Piccadilly that has handled more cases than Sherlock Holmes. On the right, you see a 1975 ad for Air India showing Holmes alongside a woman in a sari to promote the airline's flights to London. We can take note here of another aspect of Holmes's popular image that's used to good effect in advertising. The role he plays as a symbol of England. If Mycroft Holmes occasionally is the British government, it can likewise be said that Sherlock occasionally is London, or at least a recognizable stand-in in the eyes of the world. The earliest example I could find of a hotel benefiting from Holmes's sponsorship was for the Taft Hotel in New York City in 1936. For the famous Sherlock Holmes Hotel on Baker Street in London, the choice of name adds to its commercial appeal. The Langham Hotel, on the other hand, could not count on most travelers having any familiarity with their relationship with Sherlock Holmes. So in the 2004 ad that you see on the left, they were careful to make the connection clear by saying, the Langham was often referred to in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories. I'll save you the trouble of checking this statement against your concordances later by telling you now that the Langham is mentioned 5 times in 3 stories. And I guess that's often enough. This Sherlock Holmes Sport Hotel in Meiringen, Switzerland has an iconic location. And it seems that there's also a Sherlock Holmes Art Hotel in Riga, Latvia now, which is shown on the right. Frankly, I'm ready to pop off to Latvia tomorrow to check it out. But since that isn't currently feasible, let's have a look at houses and homes. Do you all always have to go back and remove the L when you try to write home? I'm sure it's not just me. Holmes and Watson's cozy home at 221B Baker Street has long charmed the public's imagination. Perhaps this is why there are so many Sherlockian ads related to real estate, home furnishings, or home maintenance. Some of these enjoy the opportunity to use a Holmes pun, such as a Sherlock Holmes real estate in Alberta, which is on the left. This even works in Japan, where the two English words Holmes and homes become perfect homonyms when converted into Japanese. The final image on the right here is for Baker Street Home Inspection Services, which has been active in Toronto since 1985. Watson, you have never yet recognized my merits as a housekeeper, Holmes says in the sign of 4. Advertisers have made a strange reality of that little joke of his, with many ads that make an explicit connection between Sherlock Holmes and good home management. Look at all the Mrs. Sherlocks arrayed here. In the first, we see her investigating the virtues of Kalamazoo home appliances. And in the second, a similar avatar is used for oranges and cheese. Hope I'm not clicking through these too fast. I can't leave the weird world of Sherlock Holmes as mother without mentioning the ad for Complete Mother magazine, in which Holmes explains the virtues of breastfeeding to Watson. If I had been allowed to wean gradually after my toddlerhood, I probably wouldn't be sucking this filthy pipe today. Obviously, no offense to any pipe smokers, I'm just reporting. At this point, allow me to make an awkward segue from breast milk to more commercially available beverages. Imagine a pop icon so powerful that he can be used to sell both Coke and Pepsi. Only Sherlock Holmes? Well, actually, Beyonce did it as well, so it's certainly an elite group. The Pepsi ad on the left is from 1943, and the image on the right is a much more recent one from Coke's very successful Share a Coke With campaign. You can see that the names on the cans were inspired by BBC's Sherlock series, and Mycroft gets a Diet Coke. Next, we have an ad for Kool-Aid. It's remarkable that the Sherlock Holmes-ish image at the center remains recognizable even when he's played by a pitcher of sugar water. There is nothing so valuable in marketing as a simple, clear message that the public can instantly relate to. Give quite literally anything, a deersucker cap, and maybe a pipe in a magnifying glass, and hey presto, hey Kool-Aid, it's Sherlock Holmes, along with all the virtues and idiosyncrasies of his character. On to the adult beverages. On the left is 100 Piper's Scotch, Gordon's Gin is in the middle, and a more recent ad for Hammer Gin is on the right. The implication in this last one, if you can see the fingerprints, is that Holmes will invite you for a drink in order to get a set of your fingerprints. In fact, the canonical Holmes never did this. Nero Wolfe has used this trick, but we need to accept that for the most part in advertising, Holmes stands in for all detectives. Basil Rathbone appeared in Holmes-themed ads for both Booth's House of Lords Gin and Walker's Deluxe Bourbon in the 1950s, but fans familiar with the Sherlock Holmes radio shows of the 1940s will be aware that Rathbone also promoted the products of the show's sponsor, Petri Wines. The colorful ad on the left shows a wide variety of their products. On the right is a piece of original ad copy for Canadian brewer Labatt's. In Canada, the reputation for Labatt's 50 is about on par with that of Petri wine. It isn't very good, but there's a lot of it. The 1971 ad campaign used a Holmesian image declaring, "I think we'll start work on this case over the long weekend." An early Sherlockian advertisement that appeared in several publications in 1914 and 1915 was for a coffee substitute called Postum. It was attractively illustrated and written in the style of a mini vignette in which Holmes identifies the trembling hand, the lackluster eye, the nervous attitude, and the sallow skin of inveterate coffee drinker. A little less than 100 years later, Holmes completely changed his tune in ads for the hyper-caffeinated beverage Red Bull. The TV this TV spot aired in several countries, with the Russian version being voiced by Vasily Livanov. On the right is another modern ad using Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law to promote 7-Eleven coffee. And of course, Sherlock Holmes also sells tea, including some smoky blends that bear his name. Holmes has sold many food products over the years: soup, cornflakes, canned meat, ice cream. The Baker Street address is an invitation to use Holmes to sell bread. Cobb's Bread on the left here is a Canadian company. The image in the middle is for granary bakeries in England. Do you want some peanut butter to go on that bread? Just pop over to Maplewood, New Jersey, where a health food store has used a nice Holmes image to dress up a plain print ad. And incidentally, while we're on peanut butter, Basil Rathbone also sold Skippy. Grocery shopping is a chore, but fortunately, Sherlock Sloan's is here to take the mystery out of food shopping. Holmes also appeared in a flyer for Safeway, and more recently in an ad for the Japanese chain Co-op. If you've ever wondered what Holmes would look like as a small Japanese girl, if you've never wondered that, here it is anyway. So now we've had food and shelter. So let's look at Sherlockian ads for clothing. Sherlock Holmes is a master of disguise, but his customary dress is that of a gentleman. So it's not surprising that the Holmes image appeals to companies selling clothing. The fickle finger of fashion can be seen in the ad on the left for Hager suits from 1979. And in the middle, Holmes promotes a mystery discount for penmans. On the right, he examines a zipper to the strictest standards. I found an interesting letter in the Arthur Conan Doyle collection's ephemera files related to these 1958 ads for Burberry's. It's from a Burberry's representative to Eden Searles. We don't have the original letter to the company, but Mr. Searles had apparently expressed the opinion that the model in this ad campaign was meant to Sherlock Holmes. You might like to draw your own conclusion at first glance. Here's part of the reply from the company. Quite frankly, we developed this advertising completely separated from any thought of A. Conan Doyle's famous Sherlock Holmes. And we've used a hat and pipe that are not uncommonly popular at this moment. We have in no way attempted to resemble our model to the fictional character of Sherlock Holmes. Taking a look at the ads here, it's a little hard to credit that statement. The text even suggests that the man pictures has an air of mystery about him. And the one on the left says, the man who knows and knows he knows, which sounds like somebody whose business it is to know things. But it does seem likely that Burberry's got a little nervous about copyright when called on the resemblance. But it is also possible that the ad designers had unintentionally drawn on Sherlock Holmes subconsciously as an archetype. Let's move on now to science, information, and technology. Because Sherlock Holmes is always searching for information, we see him appear in a variety of ads for reference works. These include common ones like the Yellow Pages, as well as very specialized ones such as GeoRef for seismicity and building foundations research, and publications about solving metal performance problems. Holmes has been used to sell almost any copier you can think of, including AM Multigraphics, which is shown here. It's probably the magnifying glass that makes him a favorite of photocopy companies since he can use it to confirm that the copies are accurate to the smallest detail. In the same vein, he can be connected with any product that is associated with accuracy, precision, and attention to detail. In our first glimpse of Sherlock Holmes, we see him bending over a table in a chemical laboratory working on an experiment. So his character as a scientist is revealed to us even before we know that he's a detective. Companies that sell scientific or technical products and services recognize this and have frequently used him for advertising. I don't know what an R factor is, but apparently it's a problem and Holmes has solved it. An ad for a portable fingerprint detector is also here, very on brand. And also this 1970 German ad from Bayer. The caption reads, "When Sherlock Holmes takes a bath, think of Bayer." This is an ad for waterproof paper. And Bayer is actually only one of at least 7 paper companies that have used Sherlock Holmes in their ads. Before we leave science and technology, let's take a quick look at television. Holmes has been on television a lot, but he's also sold TV guides in the US and TV sets in Brazil. In the middle, a clipping for an English paper's TV section chose Watson instead, so that they could use the inspired pun, Dr. Watson. When Holmes rebukes Gold King Neil Gibson by noting that he doesn't vary his professional charges, but sometimes remits them altogether, he's expressing something about his own self-image. Unlike his unpleasant client, he is no mere tradesman. Financial institutions can't afford the luxury of this kind of artistic temperament. They must turn a profit. So when banks, trust companies, and similar organizations select Sherlock Holmes to sell their product, you can be sure they've done so because it makes good business sense. Here we have ads for the New York Stock Exchange, National Savings Bank, and First Investors. In the last ad for Nesbitt Thompson, we see Holmes and a dog peering through a keyhole. Holmes never looked through keyholes. Hercule Poirot did, but again, Holmes is used in advertising as a prototype that lumps in all detectives. Let's start to wrap this up by talking about ads. Here's one for Young and Rubicam that appeared in 1938 announcing the passing of Sherlock Holmes. Modern crime solution is too complex to depend entirely on individual genius and brilliant deduction, the ad claimed, and then went on to draw a parallel with modern advertising practices. The point of the ad is clear enough, but if Sherlock Holmes was really as passé as all that, why would they take out a full-page ad in Fortune magazine featuring his name so prominently? The very act belies the ad copy. This major advertising agency can only have used the Sherlock Holmes theme because they believed it would attract interest. In fact, 2 decades later, after they had dismissed Holmes with such indecent haste, the company used him in another ad, 1958, promoting their new Baker Street offices. Nothing speaks so strongly for the appeal of using Sherlock Holmes in marketing as the fact that so many advertising agencies and sellers of advertising space have taken this path for selling their own products. And here's a 21st century example from PropArt to show that Sherlock Holmes is still alive and well in the advertising world. I do apologize a little that I started this presentation with an image of Holmes climbing an enema bottle, and I'm finishing it with a PSA showing him sitting shamefaced at a venereal disease clinic. There he's in the back behind a basketball player. However, my purpose is not to be irreverent, but rather the opposite. Take a close look at this image. Who else is at the clinic? A doctor, an astronaut, a sports star, a firefighter, and many more. This tells us something important. It says that you can put Sherlock Holmes in a BD clinic. You can put him in an ad for enemas or laxatives, You can put him anywhere you like, but you can't take him out of the company of heroes. Sherlock emerges from nearly 130 years of advertising history as himself, with his image intact. So let's now take a final look at why that image is such a powerful force in advertising. Because advertising must get its message across in only a few words and an image or two, what we see in these ads is a condensed version of Sherlock Holmes's image. What he means not to Sherlockians, but to Mr. and Mrs. Average Consumer. What is this image and why does it have such selling power? First of all, there's Holmes's appearance. Every school child understands that the deerstalker cap is a detective hat, and the Inverness cape, pipe, and magnifying glass complete the picture. Simply by using this shorthand approach to Holmes, advertisers can invoke all of his other attributes. Among these is his ability to discover things. The existence of the phrase bargain hunting shows that we believe there's some skill involved in finding the best prices for things. And from there, it's a natural choice to show a detective like Sherlock Holmes on the job. Another important attribute is his intelligence. The use of Holmes's image can help to convince consumers that a certain product is the smart choice. Holmes's intelligence is notably of a logical and scientific nature, so he appeals to both makers of scientific products and to those who would like to appear science-based. Perhaps above all these things is his reputation for being trustworthy. Every Sherlock Holmes adventure has at its core the story of someone in trouble who seeks Holmes's help. It's not so much of a stretch for advertisers to suggest that someone who can help in a major crisis can also help with small things, like the choice of a laundry soap. This may be an abuse of Holmes's reputation, but it works all the same. In summary, our great detective works so well in advertisements because of what he represents. He is brilliant, dependable, and resourceful. Wherever you find him, he's there to bring order out of chaos and offer a solution to your problems. I'd buy that, wouldn't you? And I'm done. Thank you.
I buy it. That's wonderful, Peggy. That's great. And the cheers are exploding on chat right now, and everybody's clapping.
Right.
So you're doing really well. If you could do me a quick favor and drop your screen, there you go. Drop your screen share, and we'll go on from there. Questions have started to come in. We have the first one comes from across the pond again. Marcus Geiser wants to jump in with a question and a comment. Marcus.
Yes. So maybe first of all, a comment, yes, and I will put in the chat box, yes. I mean, we know of only two cars in the canon, the Benz and the Ford Model T in his last bout. Actually, Talbot, a French company, car company, in 1984 produced a special model called Talbot. I don't remember the exact model, but I mean, the name of the special series was Sherlock. Yes, you will find it in the chat box. I've got two questions, and one you have somehow already answered. I mean, my first question, I mean, yes, your talk, of course, is about Sherlock Holmes and advertising. In your research, have you come across any other particular Sherlock Holmes stories, characters that have been used kind of consistently? You alluded, I mean, you gave a couple of examples. I think there was Mrs. Hudson on one occasion, and even Mycroft, yes. So that was my first questions. Any other characters that were used more systematically? And secondly, why Sherlock? I mean, you gave I understand your own opinion. Are you aware of any advertising companies making kind of what I would call advertising? I'm not in the advertising business, you know, kind of advertising research, you know, about scientifically trying to sort of measure the impact, the power of recognition of the Sherlock Holmes brand, because I understand that probably those, maybe some of us here are in the advertising business, before they use any sort of thing, you know, any sort of brand, any sort of symbol, they actually do some sort of research. And maybe not at all, because again, maybe our intuition is just that we think that everyone knows Sherlock Holmes. There we go.
Okay, I'll just answer the last one first. I don't know of any specific research, and I do and I don't really know much about what goes on in ad agencies, but there's just so many of these ads. There must be at least 500 and probably more. Like I personally saw 440, and I know that there's more than that. So there just must be some sort of assumption going on. But then again, maybe somebody has. Wouldn't it be great if somebody did do that kind of research and sort of do it?
Absolutely, yes. It would be an interesting
comparison.
conversation between Sherlockians, you know, and
Yeah.
professional advertisers. Yes. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, and then the other question about the other characters, Sherlock Holmes or a gin bottle with a Sherlock Holmes cap. I mean, so we'll just call all of them Sherlock Holmes. Watson, definitely. Watson shows up quite a bit in ads for restaurants and food and things like that, because I think he's, you know, sort of, he's a good time guy. That's probably why. And then hardly any others. Hardly any others. It's sort of interesting that way. Sherlock, Watson, and a dog. I don't see Mycroft. I don't remember seeing Mrs. Hudson, although she, you know, she'd be a natural for some of those home ones related to home. But no, it's I think they really want that that immediately recognizable image that's Sherlock Holmes.
Thank you, Peggy, and thank you, Marcus, very much. Tom Farrs had his question. Tom, join in.
Thank you. Great presentation. Going back to the BBC-inspired Coca-Cola cans, what years were those out, and were they limited in distribution or not?
Yes, I don't have a lot of information about that. It was the around 2014, I think. And they were, you know, I don't know how often you could actually find some of them on a, you know, go to a store and buy a can of Sherlock Coke, but they would use them for placement in ads and things like that. The interestingly, just to sort of tag back into to Marcus's question, that was really the only time where you saw that on some of the cans there was Molly and Lestrade and all that. And I do wonder if specifically the BBC fandom doesn't bring with it a little bit more love for some of the minor characters. So it was interesting to see those names there and those on the other cans.
And next we have Robin Rolls. Jump in and say hi to Peggy.
Hi, Peggy. I just wondered if you'd seen the Sherlock Holmes adverts on YouTube, notably the ones for Walker's Crisps and Lennox Boilers, and they not only capitalise on the well-known character, but they also inject a dash of humour, and they sell the product by telling an amusing mini story in 30 seconds.
Oh, it's very good. No, I'll have to. What was the product again?
They're on YouTube.
Oh, sorry, but what was the product?
Oh, sorry, yeah, Walker's Crisps and Lennox Boilers are
okay.
Spring to mind immediately.
Oh, okay, no, but that's a good one to know about. I mean, the Walker's Crisp, in particular, that's a very big brand. So I like to see when the really big brands use something Sherlockian.
And John Guillen next. John, jump in.
Hi, Peggy.
Hi, John.
I was a bit surprised that there wasn't more advantage taken of Watson for, well, first of all, brandy ads, and secondly, over-the-counter drugs, aspirin, cough syrup stuff. I thought that would have been a natural tie-in with him being a doctor.
That's a real contradiction. I mean, I just mentioned it briefly in the presentation, but Watson is the doctor, but invariably in all the medical ads, even in the breastfeeding ad, it was Holmes with all the medical knowledge. And I think it's because, again, it's that idea that in marketing, you really just have to distill something down to the very small bit of information. Holmes is smart, listen to him, and Watson is the funny one. So yeah, so they don't even use, or they or they use Watson, if at all, as a comic character, even in health ads.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of the questions that have shown up in the chat. If you have any further questions, type a Q in there and we'll get to you as we go along. But failing to see any others, it is now time for the Diabolical Quiz, which we present to you at pretty much all of our meetings. This is going to be a short answer quiz. You'll need a pencil and paper if you can find one. It'll be 15 questions. The prizes will be trivial but heartfelt from Peter Blau as we go along. The quiz was devised. Now I have to put in a disclaimer here because I didn't write this quiz. This guy did. That's Dana Richards, and you know he's our quiz maven here at the Red Circle. He does the quizzes. He wrote this quiz, dropped it in the mail, and left town because it is so diabolical and so difficult, or at least I think it is. But the good news is that some of the questions were actually in Peggy's presentation. So if you've been paying attention, you will get some of them right in any event. But anyway, it's just for fun. So let's have a go at it. We have 15 questions. We'll take them one at a time, and then we'll go back and do the answers. Here's number one. This ad is for something called the QPB Club. What does QPB stand for? What does QPB possibly stand for? And if you don't know, creative guesses would be most welcome in chat. But anyway, the letters are QPB. All right, that's number one. Here's number two. What group of retailers placed this ad? And there is, of course, a clue in the graphic. So just take your best shot at what group of retailers placed this ad. And we move on to number three. Actor Tony Randall served on the usage panel for this reference work. Can you name it? Read the copy. I'll leave it up for a few seconds. There's a lot of clues in the copy as to what it might be. Tony Randall, the late Tony Randall. Reference work, what might it have been? And number four, what kind of product is being advertised? You may have seen this before. What kind of product is it? Again, of course, there's a clue in the graphic. And number five, what is legendary mandolinist David Grisman so pleased with? He's very pleased with something. His investigation into the SCX-25 have been wonderful. So what's the SCX-25 and why is he so happy? Next, number six, what is Timken selling? Here's a picture of it. You just have to tell us what it is. What could that be? Number six. There's number seven. Once again, you may have seen this before. What sartorial company is this? And I hear other people's microphones are on. If your microphone is on at this point, please turn it off. What sartorial company is this? And number 8 and 9, you get 2 points here if you get them both right. So this is what is the product and what is the brand? You get 1 point for the product, and if you know the brand, you get another point. You saw a version of this earlier with Peggy. Number 8 and number 9, what is the product and what is the brand? On we go, number 10. What does Hastings want to sell you after your free compression test? And I'll tell you that the thing they want to sell you is actually shown in the ad. What do they want you to buy? What are they selling here? And on we go to number 11 from Dana. The product is Scotch whiskey, but what is the somewhat alliterative brand? Once again, you've seen this before. It's Scotch, but whose Scotch? And on we go to number 12. At what store could you have won a shopping spree? The store's mascot is in the ad. Is in the ad. The mascot. And not this particular ad, but another ad for this store was mentioned in Peggy's presentation. That's number 12. What's the store? What is Byford selling here? There's a very good clue in the graphics. What is Byford selling? That's number 13. Number 14. What sort of institution was this ad for? Just the type of institution. We don't need the name of the company, but what sort of institution? That's number 14. And 15 and last. Who wants to link two worlds? And the ad caption is, we work all day to make your night with us a dream. Linking two worlds. What company would that be? That's number 15 and last. Okay. Hopefully you've written down 15 answers. So we'll go through the deck again and see what the answers are and see how diabolical Dana has been this time. Remember, I say again, do not blame me. You must blame Mr. Dana Richards for any anger you have over the difficulty. But here we go. QPB Club. What does QPB stand for? And the answer is
Paperback Book Club.
There you go. There you go. Whoever's microphone is on got it right. That's what it is. Quality Paperback Book Club. 1 point if you got it right, and obviously somebody did. Number 2, what group of retailers placed this ad? And the answer is the Cigar Institute of America. If you said anything to do with cigars, you can give yourself a point for that. The Cigar Institute of America did the cigar boxes. Number 3, Tony Randall served on the usage panel for this reference work. Which one was it? It was the American Heritage Dictionary. And if you said anything to do with dictionary, you didn't have to get American Heritage. But if you said dictionary, you got it right. So that's number 3. Number 4, what kind of product is being advertised? Chemical tools, anything to do with chemistry or testing or anything like that, you can score a point for that. Number 5, what is David Grisman so pleased with? What is the SCX25? The SCX25 is his microphone, and it's from the Audix company. The microphone is the answer to number 5. What is Timken selling? What is that round thing on the right? Well, that round thing on the right are machine bearings for all types of industry. So anything to do with bearings, machinery, machines, scores a point. You've seen this before. Do you remember Peggy told you what sartorial company is this? It is Burberry's. That's number 7. All right, this is the double header, 8 and 9. What is the product and what is the brand? Answers are Gordon's London Dry Gin. You get a point for gin and a point for Gordon's. Number 10, what does Hastings want to sell you? And I told you that an image of it is in the graphic. The image is that circular gizmo that encircles the copy of free compression tests, and that thing is a piston ring. So that's a tough one, but if you got piston rings, you did really, really well.
Would clamp qualify?
Sure. I'm in a really good mood today. The product is Scotch. Do you remember the alliterative brand? Peggy told you what it was. It is Seagram's. Seagram's is the right answer. Seagram Scotch. At what store could you have won a shopping spree? The mascot is in the ad. And
Toys R Us.
That's Jeffrey the giraffe, Toys R Us.
that's it. As you can see on the floor of the now defunct store, Jeffrey the giraffe is correct. And Toys R Us is the answer. Very good, you guys. What is Byford selling? You see one down in the lower right-hand corner. Part of one anyway. What sort of institution? A bank. For Chicago Bank. Last, who wants to link two worlds? Peggy talked about this one in some detail. It was Air India. Air India. So that's 15 questions and 15 answers from Dana Richards. And it is time for you to type in your score if you're a winner. Let's start. Anybody who got anywhere between 13 and 15 right, just type the number into chat, the number you got right. If you got anywhere between 13 and 15, and I'll watch to see if I see anybody who did that well. We have a 15 and a 13. That's unbelievable. Dennis Kaiser and Jerry Margolin. Unreal. Unreal. Just for argument's sake, let's see. Yeah, let's see 11 and 12. Anybody get 11 and 12? 11 or 12? There's a 12 from Jane, an 11 from Tom Fars. Very good, everybody. Another one from Walter Colby at 11. Excellent. Well, we have a good, solid group of winners here. Very pleased with you. You've done marvelously well. And we'll pull these names out of the chat afterward, and Peter will be off to give you some Dennis and Jerry, and Bonnie just put exclamation points. So did Ann. Marcus did. Congratulations. He's right. Jane Omquist got 12. Tom Farrs 11. Wow. Walter Colby 11. Terrific job. Terrific job. Well, there we go, everybody. There's your quiz. And I'm just going to now flip it back to Peter. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll move my cheat sheet here, but I think that's right. Yeah. Peter, it's all yours, Peter.
Thank you, Alan. I'll remind everybody that, as always, the Red Circle has our pin. I won't say membership pin because we have no membership requirements. Tom Fars, I'm sure, will be at the picnic with a supply of pins for the people who show up. And you can save postage. Finally, don't forget to register for our special program, Roots from the Reichenbach, in July. Alan will have the button up on the website soon. It'll look like this. You click on it and you will not instantly get a Zoom link, but you'll get a confirmation. And then Alan will send you a Zoom link sometime in July. So thank you all for coming. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth. Happy any other holiday I've forgotten. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you to everybody, to Bev, to Peggy Perdue, to Alan Reddig. Thank you all for coming. See you, I hope, in September.
See you next time, everybody. Thanks for
See you
coming.
next
Bye-bye.
month. Thank you.
Many thanks.
Thanks, Peggy.
Thank you.
And catch up next month.
Thank
Great
you, everyone.
presentation. Thank you.
It was great. Thank you very much for having me along.
Roger, always good to see you.
And love to Jean.
Love to Jean.
Bless you. Thanks.